Hello and welcome to another episode of Global Culture. Today I'm excited because we have two fabulous women with me, Vicki Richardson and Brenda Drayton Hayes. We're going to be talking a little bit about women in the 21st century. It is Women's History Month and I'm excited to have them here. So I'm just going to have you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves. I guess we can start with Vicki.
Okay. Hi, I'm Vicki Richardson, and I am the owner of a company called Lollipop Chef, and it's a artisan bake company, and we do pretty much lollipop brownies, which is our specialty item, but we also do wedding cakes, custom cakes, pretty much anything that you dream of that you want in sugar. We can pretty much create it. So that's what we do.
Sounds interesting. And Brenda?
I am Brenda Drayton Hayes, and I am a registered nurse. I am a member of Chi Phi Sorority Incorporated. That is the only professional nursing sorority that we have. We are in our 80th year. The sorority was founded on the backs of 12 nurses who wanted to do more in the community. They wanted to elevate nursing, do more for students, and at that time they couldn't, so they started a sorority. I'm the immediate past president of the local chapter, Lambda Phi Chapter Incorporated, and I actually was spoken to about this program because I was speaking at Bowie State University, where we have an undergraduate chapter, and I was speaking at their Phenomenal Women's Day program. And I am a mentor there as well as one of the, work with the advisors there for our undergraduate chapter.
Oh, cool. So, well, what are some of the things that your sorority do for young women, like at Bowie State or in the community?
Well, the sorority itself is based on service and service for humanity. So it's because it's professional, everything we do is service in our community, service within nursing. It's still elevating the plane of nursing. As far as the students at Bowie are concerned, the local chapter, Lambda Phi chapter, chartered that chapter back in 2006. And that was history making for our graduate chapter as well as for the undergrads. Right now there's about 20 undergrad members, and basically my motto with them is teach them how to be upstanding women, so they will be upstanding nurses, which will make them upstanding women in Chi Phi Sorority Incorporated. And that comes from mentoring them, teaching them. We go from helping them with their studies right down to their clothing, whatever it takes to be a phenomenal woman themselves, so they'll be able to be a proper nurse. And then, of course, a proper lady, proper woman. Yeah. And then they'll be good in the sorority and they'll have longevity. I've been a member going on, I want to say going on 8.5 years now. So the idea is for them to leave that undergraduate chapter and come be with the graduate members and just let that time succeed.
That sounds like a great recipe just for living anyway, you know? We wanted to talk about today some of the roles that women play in the different areas, you know, politics, just in the workforce, in everywhere in the 21st century. How has it evolved for you guys? You being a business owner and used to do acting, performing, producing, all the creative stuff.
100 years ago. Yeah.
And how has it evolved for you from back when when you joined the sorority, and now, like how have things evolved?
You want to go first?
Well, I think I always had sort of an entrepreneurial spirit, just because when I was in acting, if you're an actor, you're in the spot where you're always auditioning or asking for work or seeking work. So I used to form production companies with friends of mine and do short films. We used to do music videos. And when I was at NYU, it was a long time ago. So they started Def Jam Records out of our dorm at Weinstein at NYU. So that's how I got to know Rick Rubin and Russell Simmons. And so I used to do music videos with them. They were more low budget. I mean, because MTV at that time didn't even show rap. You only had BET, so that was like another area. And I was a woman in that field, so that was different as well, to be behind the camera rather in front of the camera. And then as my acting career, I used to always play much younger than I was. So when I hit my late 20s and I was still auditioning for 14, 15-year-old parts, I decided to switch, because after someone sees you for a long period of time, I can't be 21 for 10 years. Yeah. So I ended up going to law school, and then that's how I ended up in DC, and I practiced at a couple different firms here, and I was barred in New York and DC, and so I used to have clients all over. But it wasn't really my passion, which is, I think, important when you're looking for your career.
Yeah.
So I quit the law firm and I joined the Peace Corps because I thought that would open me up to nonprofits and I could actually do something that was more service-oriented. So I was in Romania for 2 years and did business development. And when I came back, I continued in the nonprofit field. And at night, I went to culinary school, and that's how the whole interest in baking started.
So what was it like in Romania versus over here for women?
You know, it's interesting. In some ways it's similar. I mean, the economy at that time, it was right before they joined the EU. So the average salary was about $80 a month for each person. And so families lived together. But even though the woman worked outside of the home, she was still required to come back and have the traditional role of mother, washing, ironing. The food had to be on the table. So, but I guess in a way it's similar here, but it was much more traditional there. And with less money for a lot of the families, it was very difficult because you'd have, you know, the grandparents, the children, you know, mother and father all in, you know, a one-bedroom apartment. So it was a different way of looking at it. But there are a lot of similarities in terms of the family structure and the women's role, because I think even here, women still are the driving force of the family. Even though they work outside the home, they're still expected, you know, to come home and provide everything as well. Yeah.
Cook, clean, have the kids
exactly.
ready.
Yeah. I'm not saying men don't help, but I'm just saying it's primarily falls on the woman to do.
And I think that's a part of our nature anyway. I think that's just in us.
Domesticated.
Well, that's the same as in the business world. I think women work a lot harder than men, and they're sort of more team-oriented, I think, where they'll give more give and take, and there's more sharing of ideas. I know from experience for working in a law firm, I'll say that I would say across the board, when the women led the litigation, because I did litigation, it was a much more open process, and there wasn't any one person grabbing all the glory. It was kind of shared, and it was always we did, where if you worked with a man, usually he would, you know, to the victor goes all the spoils.
So I know you're in a different business now, but do you think that things have gotten any better? Have there been any significant changes, you know, as far as women being, like, let's say, overlooked for something, or, you know, the person that's doing the work but not really getting the recognition for it?
I think it depends on your area. I think it also has a lot to do with the person's personality. You know, sometimes, even though women, I think, are more assertive, sometimes they tend to take the back seat, and maybe they're not as out front with their accomplishments, you know, as much perhaps as a man. So in a way, possibly, you know, we should look at ourselves and say, hey, I should be a little bit more out there and brag a bit more rather than, you know, giving it all to the team.
Do you think that, and this is for you too, do you think that if we were to maybe put ourselves out there a little bit more, I guess you could say brag, but maybe because I can't think of a better word?
I think it's just being more proud and more assertive with your accomplishments.
Do you think it's going to be taken that same way, or maybe taken out of context, as in, okay, she's overly ambitious and, you know?
You know, the one thing that I've noticed, because I consider myself part of like the older generation of women, when I look at women now in their 20s and 30s, they're a lot more softer. Women who came through like the 70s, 80s, they're a lot harder, you know, because they felt that they had to fight, you know, and so I had to be like a man, or, you know, I didn't want children, I didn't want the family, I just wanted my career. So I think women now, because they have a lot more advantages, they don't feel that they have to be as tough and as hard. So I think it's a little bit different as far as the generations go, I think.
I agree with you, because as you were saying that, it made me thought of me and my mom.
Right.
And we're complete opposites, and I think we both have had our successes, but she's really like on what she's doing, and she's really go-getter. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm going to do it, but I'm laid back, and I'm going to get it done.
Right, because I meet women now who say, well, you know, I want to have a family and I want to have time. And I remember growing up, that's something I never would have said. You know, I would have been ashamed to say, you know, I wanted to have a family, or I wanted to take time for my career. It was just a different time, I think. And I think you even saw that during the election with Obama. You had the women who were pro-Hillary, and then their daughters were more for Obama. So it was kind of interesting where the older generation pulled like the woman line. You know, I got to support the woman, and then the younger generation just sort of wanted to support the candidate that they believed in.
Yeah. Have you noticed any of these things in the ladies that you work with?
I think probably the difference is because in nursing, in the profession of nursing, because it is definitely predominantly female by all means, we are assertive at a fault. We have to be the predominant one. We have to be the assertive one because I have that person's care in my hands. I am their voice. I am their answer. I get their needs met. So on that front, even with our younger set of nurses that are upcoming now, although their generation is a little bit different, we are trying to teach them to be harder like that, because depending on what kind of nursing you're in, like I'm an ICU nurse, I've done ICU and I've done ER, we tend to be harder nurses. I've done the floors, I've worked probably just about every aspect, but as a registered nurse, you are an advocate. So I'm an advocate to that profession that still is mostly predominantly men, which is doctors. So, and that's who I converse with. So I have to be more assertive. I have to be that outspoken person. I have to be that forefront person. And when you speak of bragging rights, oh yeah, I saw it first. Especially in the ICU or ER or something like that. Even on the floors, it doesn't matter. I see it first, so I take it to the doctor. So when it comes for credit, the doctor's not going to stand there. You know, as nurses, women, we're not going to stand there and watch them all take the credit for something that if it hadn't been for my eyes, you wouldn't even have seen. I'm the eyes and the ears, so it's probably a little bit different. I will agree with you, though, again, with that younger generation. My friends, you know, my colleagues, my sorors in the chapter, we look at them a lot of times and the things that they get upset about in this life and in this profession, we tell them all the time, you got to toughen up. You have to toughen up, you know, put your big girl panties on. We're not doing this like that. Yeah, you have to.
That's something that I deal with every day.
Yeah, you have to.
Well, unfortunately, that was so quick. Our time is up. But maybe we can have a little after show with you guys. It was so nice having you both here, and I'm hoping to continue this conversation after the cameras have been turned off and everything.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for
Thank
having
you
us.
guys for coming. Thank you for tuning in once again. This has been Global Culture TV, and my name is Cindy. I've been your host. Special thanks to Vicki and Brenda for coming out, and I hope you can tune in for another episode on another day.